From showing what America is like through the eyes of law enforcement and family, to supporting traditional values that are well known but often forgotten, let's look at Blue Bloods and its real political message. Starting with the two pillars of Blue Bloods. Now, this show's all about the New York Police Department and family. Here, the show almost exclusively revolves around the Reagans. If you look at the setup from the perspective of modern America, the family unit at the heart of the show comes off as super traditional. Think about it. Even the individual identities of the characters are sort of pushed to the background. Their personal strengths are often exclusively used in the service of the law or the family. Familial values are upheld, and everything is carried out through the all-wise patriarch at the center. Kind of like Yellowstone. It's not like this isn't realistic in America. It's just not as common as you might think. Also, over the decades, TV has veered away from depicting traditional lifestyles through shows like Mad Men and Breaking Bad. Blue Bloods, however, employs an entirely different formula, like its representation of law enforcement. What sets the show apart is the fact that a lot of thought and prep goes into making it authentic. This has resulted in a pretty accurate portrayal of cops in NYC. Ever wondered how the show managed it? Well, they went straight to the source. Blue Bloods has James Nuciforo as its technical advisor. With 25 years of experience in the force, James is the perfect guy to make sure that the scripts correctly represent cops and detectives, so the show stays true to the technicalities of the police department, which makes this an accurate representation of the American law enforcement.
What the hell? You took away anti-crime. You cut my numbers in the field and in the budget.
It's my fault some crazy person fired into a busload of teenagers. That a kid got shot at a playground. That's on me.
Mr. Mayor, there is...
But when it comes to the themes presented in the show, however, labeling them accurate is debatable. Blue Bloods is more appealing to the conservative viewpoint. Yeah, the portrayal shows that law enforcement isn't exactly perfect, but at the end of it all, the series is mostly chock full of people wanting to do the right thing. So maybe it isn't wrong to say that the show depicts them the way the Americans would like them to be. However, on the other hand, the fact remains that it largely remains uncritical of law enforcement. The multi-generational saga has often featured police brutality that was later shown to be justified. Danny Reagan often reps up various suspects in the show, but it's always swept under the rug because, well, the clock's ticking, and a case needs to be concluded. According to a column published in the Daily Bruin, this overly trustworthy portrayal of the cops deserves a rewrite, something he suggests would make the depiction more in line with reality. But the showrunner don't want to turn the whole thing into a lecture for the viewers. According to showrunner Kevin Wade, if fans are waiting for storylines that involve police mistrust, they're gonna be disappointed. Wade shared that people aren't tuning into the show to be taught a lesson, and when two sides are pitted against each other, the antagonist becomes as large as the hero.
You and me, together.
I need people to feel safe in this city.
Any update on that mother's boy in the hospital?
Eli Chesnick had surgery to remove the bullet.
But the show's famous for giving both sides their share of representation. However, in the end, Blue Bloods doesn't get into the nitty-gritties. The moral lessons are pretty tidily laid out. So if the show isn't preaching to the choir, what's it trying to say to the audience? Here's the thing. Blue Bloods is, at its core, a Western, except it's set in one of the liveliest urban centers of the world. But don't let all that hustle and bustle fool you. In essence, the storyline and the characters mimic the all-time classic American theme, except instead of cowboys, there's a powerful Irish Catholic family in charge of the reins. It's not a predictable police procedural like Law and Order. Instead, it considers the underlying morality of difficult situations as well. It doesn't shy away from dividing the good and the bad, much like the ever-popular Western genre. In fact, the show remains so clear about this that even at work, the Klan is basically a family. And I'm not talking about the toxic, this workplace is like a family trope. These people actually are related. Plus, defending the law ain't an easy job. The characters often find themselves in life or death situations, and their bonds are strengthened even more because of that. So it's an ideal world where a character is more important than everything else. And the show, through the Reagan family, gives the audience a unique perspective. There's no doubt that this show wants to operate on a level higher than the ordinary police procedural.
Car plate was altered, but we were able to locate him using a bumper sticker and an anonymous tip. 5 times for aggravated harassment and assault, but gets released every time.
And he's been in and out of mental hospitals his whole life.
And the police aristocracy can come off as a bit stereotypical. But the show isn't a rosy representation of the truth. Instead, it is a world where archetypes collide, and the audience gets a glimpse into their world. Frank is the wisest of them all, but it's not like he never slips up. It's just that his virtues far outshine all the rest. Next, Henry sort of depicts tradition while Danny exemplifies courage, and Aaron represents self-control. Now hear me out. The characters can't just be reduced to these good traits. They're more than that. They often have to fight to remain true to themselves, but they do show these great traits in their lives and work. Now, the youngest of them all, Jamie, is on an adventure of his own. We see different themes play out as his search for the truth unfolds. Also, his struggle remains the same, to reconcile the streets and the courts, something that makes his journey super interesting. Not only that, but Aaron's daughter also indirectly shows the issues faced by the youth, and through her, the show touches on sexuality, drug abuse, and social media. Along with that, Linda remains the maternal anchor of the family. The show allows the audience to explore these virtues as they play out in the American landscape of law enforcement. So let's get specific. How does it do that? A defining part of the series is the weekly family dinner scene. This is one of the most exciting parts of the show, because all that happens at the workplace is finally brought to the table when the family gets together every week. And let's just say that things tend to heat up, because the discussion often consists of the dilemmas and problems of work, the important ethical and moral questions that arise when you're facing criminals every day on the job. It's in this circle that the show's themes collide, and tradition is passed from generation to generation. From church teachings, social science concepts, and legal theory, everything is on the table for discussion. And grace and blessings are a usual part of the ritual too. So the show doesn't just accept the realities of life, it provides a platform where they are brought up and debated. Then, of course, there's the police work. Even away from the dining table, the Klan doesn't avoid controversial topics. The show's representation of criminals and the way they are dealt with also explores important tropes. Now, not all cops here are perfect, nor are all of them bent on doing the right thing every time. But in this show, the victims also aren't made out to be rejects of society. They aren't shown to be victims of circumstance. Rather, they're made to answer for their crimes, even though the ones who pass judgment on them often do so with a heavy heart. So it's like the Wild West. Difficult themes aren't absent, but instead, they're effectively tackled. The plot of Blue Bloods reminds the viewers of timeless lessons that they already know, but can sometimes overlook. And that's all from my side about Blue Bloods and its real political message.